So it is that time again, and we are back with some championship score predictions. This is now week 15 of our championship score predictions, and coming up this weekend we got some massive games. And after the bizarre time we had in midweek with some of the games going on, God knows what's going to happen this weekend, but we will be doing our best in this video to go ahead and try and predict some of the scores. So as always, all of this weekend's fixtures will be listed in the description down below so that you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions. And just before we do get into my score predictions, I will include your guys' comments on screen now, so if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your midweek scorelines correct, then I will include your comment on screen now. And fair play to everyone who did get one right. It was a really tough one to get, in my opinion. Obviously, the standout game of midweek being the 5-5 draw between Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest. I'm sure those fans are still recovering from that game, but without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and hop into this weekend's score predictions. And kicking things off, we got a massive game as the early kickoff on Saturday. We see Sheffield United going up against Leeds United, two high flyers in the championship so far this season. Leeds coming off the back of 2 consecutive wins in the championship, and we see Sheffield United unbeaten in their last 3 games. Interestingly enough, looking at the head-to-head records between these two sides, it's Sheffield United in recent history who have had the better of this fixture. They've only gone ahead and lost 1 of their last 11 encounters against Leeds United, so that will mean they can take a bit of confidence into this game. Last season we also saw Sheffield United do the double over Leeds United, picking up 2 2-1 victories, but this is going to be a really tough one to predict in my opinion. I see both teams wanting to go for 3 points in this game. I believe that Pontus Jansson could be returning for Leeds United this weekend. That would be a big bolster to their backline going into this one, as Sheffield United are going to want to put some pressure on that Leeds United backline. And the thing that I find really interesting about this game is going to be the midfield battle. Probably Sheffield United's player of the season so far has been Ollie Norwood in midfield, pulling the strings from them. He scored a fantastic goal in midweek against Brentford, and you know, Ollie Norwood going up against Phillips, John Fleck going up against Pablo Hernandez. It really is going to be an interesting tactical battle for this one, and I feel like this game is on a knife edge. I don't want to predict it to be a draw though, as I feel like both sides are going to be going for this one. I feel like both teams will grab a goal in the first half, and the second half each team's going to want to go at each other. I am just going to back Sheffield United for a 2-1 home victory. I've got a bit of a gut feeling about Sheffield United for this game. I'll say 2-1. Leeds could easily walk away with all 3 points from this one. It really is going to be a good game this weekend. I'll say 2-1 United. FIFA's saying 2-0 United. Good game this weekend. And then we see Birmingham going up against my team, Preston North End. Obviously, Preston currently on the longest unbeaten run in the championship. We've not lost for 9 consecutive matches now, which is some achievement really, considering some of the first team players we've currently got out injured. Ben Davies, a key centre-back for us. I'm not sure if he's going to be back in time for this game or not, but I must say that Jordan Story and his performance against Middlesbrough largely impressed me, so I'd like to see more of Jordan Story at centre-back for us this season. Obviously, we saw Birmingham get back to winning ways in midweek with a 2-0 away victory against Millwall. I think the clean sheet in that game will be a massive positive to take into this one, because before that, we've seen Birmingham leaking some really silly goals. Going into this game, I feel like it's going to be a good one. End-to-end football, both teams are going to want to go for 3 points in this one, in my opinion. Preston, I think we will bring our attacking threat into this game. Our defence has looked a lot more sturdy in recent weeks. I don't think there's going to be all too much in it between these two sides. Obviously, going forward, we are going to miss Callum Robinson for the next few months of this season, but even so, we do still have a goal threat. Goals from midfield so far this season. Paul Gallagher, also a player who I think that Birmingham can't allow to have a lot of time on the ball. I think that that's the mistake that both Middlesbrough and Blackburn have made in recent weeks. Gallagher's been given an absolute age on the ball in midfield, and he's just been allowed to pick teams apart from central midfield. But I don't think that Birmingham will be taken lightly in this one. I'm going to predict this one to finish as a 1-1 draw. Going to be a competitive game in my opinion. FIFA's saying it'll be a 2-1 Preston away victory. And then we see Blackburn Rovers going up against Sheffield Wednesday. Neither side currently finds themselves on a brilliant run of form in the championship. Sheffield Wednesday did pick up a win in midweek, a 1-0 home victory against Bolton Wanderers, but even so, their performance was still quite sloppy in that game, and the game itself was really dreary. I've seen quite a few of the reports from Sheffield Wednesday fans not happy about that game, and going up against Blackburn, they do stand a good chance though, as the way that Blackburn are currently playing really has been uncharacteristically poor for them. We saw them play really bad against my team, Preston, and then they were awful in midweek against Wigan Athletic. I'd expect Tony Mowbray to make quite a few changes for this game, because he has to have some sort of reaction from the players, because the last 2 performances haven't been good enough from a Blackburn Rovers standpoint. And so this game, it's a hard one to predict, because I never really know what to expect from either side. I'm actually going to back Blackburn to bounce back and get back to winning ways for this one. I can't see them being as poor as they have been in recent weeks, and with Sheffield Wednesday, I'm still yet to be convinced by them so far this season. So I will back Blackburn for a 2-1 home victory, but I'm not very confident in doing that. FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. I'm not sure which way that one will go. And a really big game this weekend between Bolton Wanderers and Wigan Athletic. I think Bolton's last win in the championship was all the way back in September. They've been on an awful run recently and only scored 12 goals so far this season in the championship, the lowest scorers currently, and I mean, something has to change with this Bolton squad sooner rather than later, because at the moment they are only going in one direction, and that is straight back down to League One. Going up against Wigan, who haven't been in brilliant form lately in the Championship, but they did bounce back with a convincing performance actually in midweek against Blackburn Rovers, beating them by 3-1. I thought there was a lot more attacking options for that game. They were creating a lot more chances and were looking a lot more clinical than they have been doing in recent weeks. Going up against Bolton for this one, when Bolton want to be quite resilient defensively, they do have the capability of doing that. It's just the quality going forward doesn't really seem to be there in that squad. They're not playing with a lot of confidence, and for that reason I don't see all too many goals being scored in this game, and I'm actually going to back this one to finish as a 0-0 draw. There's not a good feeling around Bolton as a club at this point in time, and I feel like that may be reflected in this result once again. So I'll say 0-0, FIFA's going to say 1-0 Wigan. And then next up we see Derby going up against Swansea City. Swansea currently not in the best run of form in the Championship. They've lost their last 2 games, although their performance in midweek against West Brom didn't look to be the worst in my opinion. Going up against this Derby side, who obviously lost as well in midweek 2-1 against Stoke City. They had a fair few chances in that game actually, but Jack Butland was level to most of them. Harry Wilson scoring a brilliant goal in that game as well. But Derby tend to be in that sort of run of form at the moment where they're winning one, then losing one, then winning one and losing one. So if we are going off that logic for this game, they should get all 3 points from this one. But Swansea do pose a decent threat going into this one. Both sides have shown so far this season that they are capable of scoring goals. At times Swansea have been a little bit lacklustre defensively. Swansea are going to want to keep this game tight in the early exchanges of it. Obviously we are all aware of the quality that Derby County possess going forward. You know, we've already mentioned Harry Wilson, a player who I've been very impressed by so far this season. Jack Merritt as well, also been playing very well for Derby lately. And for this game, it's a tough one to call, but I am going to back the home side for a 2-1 home victory, with FIFA saying this one will end as a 2-0 away victory for Swansea. And then next up we see Norwich City going up against Rotherham United. Rotherham actually in a really good run of form in the Championship currently. They are unbeaten in their last 7 Championship matches, albeit a lot of those have been draws, but even so, you got to give it to Rotherham. They've stepped up to the Championship well so far, caused a lot of teams problems so far, especially some of the sides who are quite high up in the Championship. Going up against Norwich though is going to be no easy feat. They probably are one of the most informed sides in the Championship currently sat top of the Championship. They did have a fairly frustrating game in midweek themselves though, drawing 0-0 against Hull City. Rotherham for this game, I imagine they're going to want to look to sit in deep and probably would take a point away at Norwich City, but you can never really write Rotherham off from anything, you know. You never really know what you're going to get from them. Going up against Norwich though, who are so good in possession, I expect they'll have a lot of the ball for this one. Rotherham I don't think will necessarily look to press them a lot. I think they'll look to sit off Norwich. That could be a dangerous game plan with how well Norwich have been on the ball so far this season, with players like Leitner and Buendia pulling the strings from midfield. For this game, I'm going to back Norwich for a 3-1 home victory, but with Rotherham, you never really know. But I will say 3-1 Norwich. Thea's going to say 2-0 Norwich. Interesting game this weekend. Then next up, we see Nottingham Forest going up against Ipswich Town. Obviously, Forest were involved in one of the most ridiculous Championship matches we've seen in recent years, a 5-5 draw against Villa at Villa Park in midweek. But going into this one, I don't think we'll see as many goals scored, believe it or not, but it's an interesting test going up against this Ipswich side. Definitely going to be a different one to playing against Aston Villa. Ipswich had an absolutely crushing defeat in midweek against Bristol City, again where they arguably could have gone to get all 3 points from. I think the own goal by Bilkowski sort of sums up Ipswich so far this season really, and still sat at the bottom of the Championship, 6 points adrift from safety now, and you know, if they continue losing matches in the way they currently are, that gap's only going to get bigger. The one positive I suppose that Ipswich have got at this point in time is they are starting to score more goals now. Freddie Sears seems to be in a decent run of form going forward for Ipswich, but even then they're conceding too many goals this season. And going up against a side like Nottingham Forest, who have just got attacking dynamism in absolute abundances, it's going to be a tough game for this Ipswich defence in my opinion. Lately we've seen Lewis Graham being on absolutely fantastic form, Joe Lilly as well, absolutely superb against Aston Villa, but one player who I really have liked the look of recently for Nottingham Forest has been João Carvalho, pulling the strings for Forest in that number 10 position. I expect Forest to have the majority of the ball in this one, and with how much energy they've actually got in that midfield, they're going to make it hard for Ipswich in this one. I think they're going to overrun them in midfield, and eventually that pressure is going to tell on that Ipswich back line. So for this game, I'm going to back Forest for a 2-0 home victory, with FIFA saying it's going to be 1-0 Ipswich. Then at Loftus Road, we got QPR going up against Hull City. Both sides picking up a point in midweek. Hull drawing 0-0 against Norwich City. Probably one of the most informed sides in the Championship. That was a decent result for Hull in my opinion, you know. With the amount of silly goals they've been conceding so far this season, to get a clean sheet in that game will serve them well going forward into this season. Going up against QPR, who drew 2-2 against Rotherham in midweek. I didn't think it was the best we've seen of QPR so far this season, but they are still only sat 3 points off the playoffs, so you know, anything is still possible for QPR this season. And so for a prediction for this game, I'm gonna fancy QPR for this one. Hull, you never really know what you're going to get from them. Defensively, they can be a little bit shaky, but they do have players going forward who can be quite effective. Grosicki from set pieces, always effective. Campbell in and around the box, and Jared Bowen, when he's on form, can be fantastic for them. But even so, I do feel as if when QPR are on form, when Luke Freeman's really pulling the strings from them from midfield, QPR can be a force going forward. And so for this game, I'm going to back the home side for a 2-1 home victory. With FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Hull. Then we see Reading going up against Stoke City. Reading still sat above the relegation zone, but they've not been able to pull themselves away just yet. In midweek, they had a game against Leeds United. I actually thought it was a decent performance from Reading in that game. Going up against Stoke, who were able to beat Derby by 2-1. So far, I mentioned it in the previous video, but Stoke have been drawing a lot of games in the Championship recently, so to win that game against Derby will be big for them going forward. You know, they really do need to start closing that gap on the top 6. They're on a nice unbeaten run at the moment, but they, like I said, they do need to turn all those draws they've been getting lately into wins. One player who I've really liked the look of for Stoke recently has been Jack Butland, popping up with some massive saves for them lately, and he's going to be important for this game as well, because Reading going forward have been no mugs so far this season, especially at home. They have been scoring a lot of goals, and I see this one being quite an open game of football actually. For a prediction, I'm actually going to back it to finish as a 1-1 draw. I don't think there'll be all too much in it between these two sides. I think that Stoke will try and go for all 3 points in this one, but they may find themselves a bit frustrated. I'm going to say 1-1, and FIFA's going to agree with me. Then as the evening kickoff on Saturday, we've got Middlesbrough going up against Aston Villa. Now, something does tell me that this isn't quite going to be the 5-5 thriller that we saw Aston Villa involved in last time. You know, going up against a Tony Pulis side, I don't think that's ever really going to be the case. But Middlesbrough in midweek, I didn't think it was their best performance that we've seen them so far. They did rest a couple of key players for that game against Preston North End, but I thought that, you know, they were looking quite compact defensively. But going forward with Hugo and Rudy Kosted, they didn't really link up with each other like Tony Pulis would have been hoping for. And they're going to need to bring something a little bit different into this game against Aston Villa, who have been looking very good lately. Defensively against Nottingham Forest, Villa were looking like a little bit of a shambles. Nyland, especially their goalkeeper, absolutely all over the place. I have no idea what he was doing for some of their goals. I'd be interested to see what the situation is with their goalkeeper going forward this season, because he was looking like an absolute mess for that game. Obviously, you do know what you're going to get from Middlesbrough at this point in time in the season. They're going to look to be very physical with this Aston Villa side, and it is two different styles clashing with each other. And honestly, I don't think there's going to end up being that much in it between these two sides. I'm going to say that this one is going to end level as a 1-1 draw, and FIFA's also going to agree with me for that one. And as the Sunday kickoff, we see Bristol City going up against Millwall. Once again, a really tough one to predict, because lately in the Championship, neither side has been putting in some brilliant performances. But in fairness to Bristol City, they put up a massive victory in midweek, 3-2 against Ipswich Town, coming back from behind to claim all 3 points in that game. And that will be a massive result for Lee Johnson, especially coming under increasing pressure. I know a lot of Bristol City fans haven't been happy with the way the club's been going lately, and a lot of them actually turning on Lee Johnson. I'm interested to see if he can start to turn this around for Bristol City now, look to go on a decent run of form, because it's a good chance to do so. Against Millwall, they've really been all over the place lately in the Championship, currently just sat above the relegation zone on goal difference, and not a lot of players for Millwall so far this season can take a lot of credit. From what I've seen of them lately, I think that Jed Wallace has still looked good for them. Gregory going forward has looked decent, and probably Archer and Net and Cooper as well at the back. Apart from that, everyone else has been pretty shambolic for Millwall so far this season, and I'd be interested to get Millwall fans' perspectives actually on what you've made of Neil Harris so far, whether he needs to change formation, change players, change tactics. Something needs to change with Millwall with the way they're currently going at this point in time. They can't carry on in the vein they're currently going in, and I feel like Lee Johnson probably got his tactics spot on actually against Ipswich, bringing on Jeju at half time. He had a massive influence on the second half and ended up winning the game for Bristol City. And so for a prediction for this one, I'm gonna back Bristol City for a 2-1 home victory. I'm not too confident in doing that, but I will say they'll get all 3 points once again, and FIFA's gonna say it'll be a 1-1 draw. And we also have a Monday night game in the Championship this week. We see West Brom going up against Brentford. Brentford, I cannot believe the fall off they have had in the Championship recently compared to how they started the season on absolute fire with players like Neil Maupay, Ollie Watkins going forward, looking too blind for them. That's not been the case lately. I mean, defensively has been where Brentford have had their downfall, and going up against a side like West Brom, who have been so confident attacking lately, going up against some really tough opponents lately as well. Darren Moore's been getting it spot on for West Brom recently, and I do worry for Brentford's defence for this one. Having players like Gio Rodriguez, Dwight Gale, Harvey Barnes running at them, they could be all over the place with this one. We've already seen Brentford conceding 28 goals so far this season, and West Brom could have an absolute field day. The only thing that sort of backs me up for thinking Brentford could get something from this game is they still do pose an attacking threat. You know, we saw that in the game they had against Sheffield United in midweek, losing 3-2 in the end for that game, and I actually feel like this game could go down a similar path. Brentford are going to try to go attack heavy against this West Brom side, who have had a couple of faults themselves in defence so far, but ultimately I feel like it will be the home side coming away with all 3 points. I'm going to back West Brom for a 3-2 home victory in this game, or as FIFA's saying, it'll be 1-0 Brentford. But guys, there you have it, there are my Championship Week 15 score predictions. So make sure you do leave your comments in the comments down below as to what you think will happen this weekend in the Championship. And if you did go on to enjoy the video, make sure you do leave a like. Also as well, please do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.